Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, once again, thank you for accommodating this and thank you to the honourable members. Madam Speaker, I rise to inform Parliament of the 20th Conference of the Commonwealth Education Ministers meeting that was hosted in Nadi from 19th to the 23rd of February 2018. Madam Speaker, Fijian people have already showcased our ability to organise world-class events, not only in sport, of course, but in bringing regional and international meetings to our country as well. And we are proud to have hosted a successful 20th CCEM last month, Madam Speaker. This is the first time it's come to a Pacific Island nation, and indeed the first time since it was last held in this part of the world in Australia in the early 1970s, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we of course are also very keenly looking forward to hosting of the Asian Development Bank annual meeting next year, which will again be for the first time in the Pacific. CCEM, Madam Speaker, addressed the theme of sustainability and resilience, can education deliver? And we were honoured to have appointed as chair of the meeting. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to acknowledge the great work being done by the Commonwealth Secretariat, ably led by the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland QC, as Secretary General, particularly in the area of education. Madam Speaker, the Commonwealth brings together 53 countries with a combined population of 2.4 billion people, of which over 60% is under the age of 29. It is of particular importance, Madam Speaker, to us that 24 of the members, or 45% of the membership, are small island developing states. Commonwealth nations, Madam Speaker, are faced with many of the same challenges, but a great benefit of the Commonwealth is that the member countries are natural partners in development due to our shared histories, traditions and common language. Madam Speaker, the Commonwealth member nations share a strong commitment to addressing the issues in the areas of education and climate adaptation, both of which are critical to securing a sustainable future. In this regard, Madam Speaker, as our Honourable Prime Minister has said many times, all nations are in the same canoe together. As such, it is fitting that the logo of Fiji CCEM, which is designed by a Fijian student, featured a drua being guided by a four-pointed star representing Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is of course quality education to ensure inclusive and quality education for all and promote lifelong learning. Madam Speaker, the tone for the week was set at the very beginning by the climate-focused opening ceremony, where two of our young Fijian climate change warriors, 12-year-old Timothy Nalusala of Tailevu and 11-year-old Shelby Shaksi from Nasarawanga in Vanuatu, impressed the audience with their speeches and performances in the same way that they had amazed the audience in Bonn at the COP23 negotiation in November last year, Madam Speaker. There is no doubt that this made for a wonderful opening to our conference and a treasured memory for our fellow Commonwealth members. In fact, many commented on how well these two young people spoke. Madam Speaker, this is the first conference of Commonwealth Education Ministers to convene since the adoption of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Fiji CCEM reflected a new direction of the Commonwealth Secretariat to involve civil society in its broadest form with the organisation of the Integrated Partners Forum, producing vibrant and diverse debates on important issues as well as an inclusive approach to development policy. The IPF, Madam Speaker, brought together representatives from student organisations, higher education, civil society organisations, teacher union groups, teacher groups, and ran parallel with sessions for members of the Commonwealth of Learning, which is called the Association of Commonwealth Universities, ACU. Overall, there were 480 delegates attending the IPF before and in parallel to the ministers' meeting. There was a melting pot of ideas revolving around Commonwealth values, including democracy, human rights, the rule of law, and good governance. The key themes addressed by the IPF were education for sustainable development, building resilience through education, education governance and management, and all of this, Madam Speaker, addressing the issues of inclusive and equitable quality education, skills development, lifelong learning, accountability in education, sustainability and resilience, quality and equity. And of course, Madam Speaker, included financing of education, societal barriers including drug abuse and internet social media, and the advocacy for education strategies across the SDGs, including many of the challenges that are faced today by teachers that have to deal with access to technology, which of course has its own downside. All these issues are relevant for us here in Fiji, Madam Speaker, particularly as we pursue an integrated approach in education to address the skills gap, which will ultimately help us to continue growing our economy and make our growth sustainable for future generations. Madam Speaker, prior to the ministers' meeting, we also organized a small states meeting, which was attended by 18 delegations representing countries that share similar geographic-based challenges. This high-level meeting, Madam Speaker, also served as an opportunity to prepare for the CCEM itself, allowing participants to develop a united voice that ensures the unique perspective of small states, and indeed how their voices should be heard. Madam Speaker, the main issues addressed by the small states included the impact of climate change, particularly as we in the Pacific and others in the Caribbean have experienced from cyclones which have an impact, severe impact on schools, I should say. Balancing education with a focus on infrastructure, accountability, procurement challenges, and a lack of trained early childhood education teachers. And thirdly, preparing for teaching and learning, including training and retraining our teachers to support them to provide quality education. Madam Speaker, the fact that the small states are doing better than before is a tribute to the commitment from the Commonwealth as a whole to share policy solutions to the Commonwealth Secretariat and ensure education sector plans are aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. However, we must not rest on our laurels, Madam Speaker. Efforts still need to be made to close the gaps between the large and small nations in the Commonwealth, and we will continue to keep the interests of small states high on the agenda. Madam Speaker, the last meeting of the CCEM in Nassau in Bahamas, they established the Education Ministers Action Group, or EMAG, as an executive to ensure that the policy direction contained in the communique is actually implemented through a peer monitoring system. We are happy to declare that Fiji has been asked to chair the EMAG through the next 3 years, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, EMAG in Nadi met and provided a report on its progress over the past 3 years, and Fiji, of course, now being the chair, we look forward to leading the Commonwealth in the area of education, just as we are leading the world in confronting climate change. Madam Speaker, we are also able to meet colleagues from Australia, New Zealand and India to discuss areas of cooperation, and we will announce more details in due course, some of which we have alluded to already. Madam Speaker, we are also able to extend invitations to the Honourable Secretary General to open the telecentres that we have been doing in Korobuto College in this particular instance, the Honourable Minister from New Zealand to open the telecentre in Lautoka Andhra College, the Honourable Minister from Australia to commission the rehabilitation work done after T.C. Winston in Vunisamaloa Sanatan Primary School, and the Honourable Minister from India to commission the Rambulu Primary School staff quarters damaged by T.C. Winston, and they indeed were very complimentary of government's efforts in respect of the rebuild of schools, in particular after T.C. Winston. We'd also like to take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to thank these schools for graciously opening the doors to our distinguished guests and helping deepen our people-to-people ties with our partners in the development around the world. And as I mentioned also, Madam Speaker, I spoke to the Australian High Commissioner earlier this morning, where we hope to get a letter in respect of, from the Education Minister, very keen to help us on a bilateral basis in respect of the review of the technical colleges to do a gap analysis, and also in respect of our upgrading our curriculum, in particular in the area of English language. Madam Speaker, we are delighted to announce during the CCEM Cabinet's decision to join the Commonwealth of Learning, or COL, and we look forward to working with COL to support the further development of the Technical College of Fiji and meet our technical and vocational education and training, or TVET, requirements. COL, Madam Speaker, works with governments to capitalise on new and existing technologies to improve and expand access to education and training while embedding gender equality into the process. This is what we need in Fiji, leveraging technology in an exclusive way that allows a knowledge-based society to continue its development and allows Fiji to implement cutting-edge approaches to address our economic needs. Our membership in the COL will give us new opportunities to put bright tools and new technologies into the hands of Fijian students and create classroom environments at every level of the Fijian education system that best prepare students for the demands of the modern place, Madam Speaker. Of course, Madam Speaker, COL also works with what we call lifelong training for those students who are also adults who may need retraining should they want to change their career paths. Madam Speaker, we are also privileged to listen to presentations from the 3 former heads of government, of state or government at CCEM, Right Honourable Helen Clark, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, and the former Administrator of the United Nations Development Programme, His Excellency President Jake Kikwete, the former President of Tanzania and member of the International Commission on Financing Global Education Opportunity, and also His Excellency Anton Tong, the former President of Kiribati, and Chair of the high-level group established to review in the Commonwealth Secretariat's governance arrangements. Madam Speaker, all of these distinguished guests provided valuable insights into the areas of work, and is a clear example of how influential and impactful the Commonwealth can be in furthering access to education. Madam Speaker, at the end of the CCEM 3-day meeting, the Commonwealth Ministers acknowledged that we share similar needs among our countries, that the opportunities to work together are many, that we need to spend intelligently and that we need to make use of the Commonwealth Secretariat's innovation and education hubs, as well as their health and other implementation toolkits. There are also some key issues identified for us to consider implementing within our national jurisdiction. Firstly, performance. We need to set achievable targets, ensure standards are met, and ensure that the teachers are at work teaching. Here I refer to comments from other countries, not necessarily made by Fiji. 2, innovation and how we harness technology. 3, workforce, planning for our needs now and in the future, not just in the education sector, but in the economy generally. And fourthly, inclusion, so that children at risk, and particularly young girls and students with disabilities, can be catered for. These big picture issues have relevance for every nation in the Commonwealth, and we are taking steps in Fiji to build upon our own success in addressing these issues. We look forward to the workforce initiative that the Commonwealth Secretariat will be launching later this month, which will assist us in our planning approach, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our track record and continued commitment to the education of the Fijian people make us very proud of the Nadi Declaration that emerged from the 20th CCEM. The declaration affirmed that education can deliver in terms of sustainability and resilience, and that identified 4 key areas highlighted in moving education forward throughout the Commonwealth. Firstly, education governance and management. Secondly, building resilience through education. Thirdly, education for sustainable development. And fourthly, strengthening educational partnerships. Madam Speaker, we're already making tremendous progress addressing these issues in Fiji, and we'd like to speak on some of the work that's already happening in Fiji and that we are able to share with the Commonwealth partners. Government's commitment to education is seen most clearly through our record allocation of $964.5 million in the last financial year towards education. That is approximately 21 to 22% of our total national budget. Of course, it includes the rebuild. The specifics of the allocation have been detailed before Parliament. It shows clearly that yet again we are putting our priority in the next generation. We are putting our resources towards building a better and brighter future for young Fijians. At the 20th CCEM, we shared our experience in making education free for the first time in history, along with introducing free textbooks, subsidized transportation, our development of early childhood education, and our work to massively expand access to merit-based scholarships and affordable tertiary loans, along with access to technical colleges. Madam Speaker, we also shared our game plan for hiring and training quality teachers to rebuild the profession in Fiji in recognition of the critical role teachers play in developing our young people and ultimately developing our country. We have continued our support to teachers in their professional development. For example, we've instituted student-free days to provide a space for them to exchange best practice and participate in training opportunities. Last year, our teachers received pay rises through our job evaluation exercise, and we're establishing a merit-based system of recruitment and advancement, and reforming the Ministry's human resources to better support our teachers so they can remain solely focused on educating the teachers. The Ministry is preparing to develop a strategic plan for the education sector that sets our vision at every level of the education system. Our school system needs a stronger linkage to technical and vocational education and to our higher education system, so that more of our students can go to university and take advantage of the record funding towards scholarships and affordable tertiary loans, and of course get a tie-in in respect of what are the job requirements in the employment market. We are rightly proud of Fiji's 8 years straight years of economic growth, and by increasing cooperation within our education system from early childhood through to the higher education sector, and by addressing the need for relevant and higher value skills identified by both public and private sector, we will keep our economy prosperous. Madam Speaker, we are also putting in the time and resources today to build a sustainable, resilient future for education in Fiji. The 2007 and 2017 census gives us valuable information that we are using to identify trends and target resources, particularly towards delivering adequate infrastructure in our schools that accounts for current needs and future growth as well. We are also rebuilding and constructing schools to a new standard of resilience in preparation for the stronger and more frequent cyclones predicted to impact our region, as we've discussed before. There is an urgent need, Madam Speaker, to reassess our school curriculum to more effectively embed material and lesson plans that relate to the SDGs, human rights and anti-corruption. We also should consider a seamless curriculum framework from year 1 to year 13 that feeds into the tertiary education and TVET systems, Madam Speaker, including things like civic education. In this regard, Madam Speaker, we are proud to partner with FICAC to embed anti-corruption in a number of subject areas within the Fijian education system. Fiji is now only one of 4 countries in the world undertaking this approach in education. So again, we're taking the lead and the eyes of the world upon us as we pursue this innovative new partnership, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, It is critical we focus our efforts on supporting more of our young people to finish secondary school and develop skills that lead them to high-paying jobs in our growing economy in both the formal and informal sectors. We also need to foster a mentality shift so that more young people go on to become job creators rather than simply seeing themselves as job takers. And that is why we're doing so much to instill a culture of entrepreneurship among Fijians at every age. All of that can only be built upon a strong foundation of literacy and numeracy for every Fijian, everywhere in Fiji. Madam Speaker, the bottom line is that our education system is on the right track. The world is taking notice, and we have many partners around the world willing to work with us in educating our citizens. Over the next few months, we're going to see real impacts from our reform program in education, along with our development partnerships in the form of more support to our teachers, resources for our students, and an overall improvement in the quality of all levels of our education system. So, Madam Speaker, we're already making significant progress towards realizing the aspirations set out in the Nadi Declaration. We look forward to working with all of our member countries to help address these key issues throughout the Commonwealth. Madam Speaker, we're glad to say that our hosting of the conference was heralded as a big success by representatives and by the Secretary-General herself during the final media conference. Every Fijian can be proud that in this event we again showcased that Fiji is more than capable of hosting major international gatherings. Madam Speaker, during CCEM, the Right Honourable Secretary-General hosted the Commonwealth's first ever Big Lunch, a series of community-focused events that are being held throughout the Commonwealth in the lead-up to the Heads of Government meeting in London this April. During the lunch, Madam Speaker, interestingly, the Secretary-General asked our two youngest participants a candid question. What do you want our leaders to do? These Fijian students with wisdom beyond their years responded that we need to walk the talk and to act. Madam Speaker, this government is walking the talk. We are acting, and we are doing so for the sake of our children and by direct extension, Fiji's future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.